Hey everybody, we are back, Arnold and Rotana from the new ABC for the New Worker TV. As it's summertime, we will discuss about topic that is relevant to us and might be also for you. It's about standing out from the crowd. It's maybe an intriguing topic, and you can have a lot of connotation behind that. But we are talking more about this topic in the context of hiring and workforce. So Arnold, could you share more about that topic?
Yes, I'm happy to. Actually, I had lunch with a psychologist who is working on a new assessment tool which he will roll out here in the Netherlands and later on in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why they're doing this is that he was talking about big retail companies here in Holland. He said, "Do you have any idea how many CVs they receive each year?" And I said, "I don't know." And he said, on average, these guys get something like 60,000 CVs.
Wow. Okay.
60,000. So I was thinking, so roughly it's 20 per day.
Yeah, something like this.
He said, he mentioned also, and those are the retail companies, like for customer service or for sales reps or at department stores or the McDonald's or whatever. And he said also people also apply for these well-known brands. He said, for instance, there was a secretary needed at Netflix European head office in Amsterdam. He said it's got thousands of people applying, so it's totally crazy just for a secretary job. So, so what does it mean if you're at the receiving end of that? As a company, you get 60,000 CV. How are you going to deal with that? So he says with normal companies, they got something like 2 junior guys sitting on the desk, very quickly going through these resumes and selecting a couple of thousands which are for the next steps and the bosses should look like. But that's totally not doable. So what he was working on is if you apply for a job, then you find in your name and your email, obviously, then you will get a link to an assessment tool where you have to go through that assessment, and then the best guys out of that assessment, they will be getting serious attention of the HR folks. So assume the 2,000 of that will get serious attention, and then some of them will be invited. So that means that tool will do the selection process, the first part of the selection process. And that means that and he was mentioning customer service, and so that tool is kind of used in assessment is like, well, you say you're a customer service person, but how do I know you're a customer service person? How do you deal with complaints? How do you deal with changes? How do you deal with stress? How do you deal with repetitive calls? How do you deal with stupid questions? All these kind of things. So that's what these guys are putting in the assessment. So that is a way to deal with it. And when I was thinking about that, why do we call it stand out from the crowd? It's like, so these are the numbers you're talking about. And again, I'm just talking about the Netherlands, which is a small country. So it's like you talk about 10,000s of people who are sending their stuff. So how do you make sure that you get noticed? In some cases, it might be that you do the assessment. You might say, well, I'm not going to do the assessment. Well, I tell you, if you don't do the assessment, you will not select it. So you have to do that. But another is like, how do I notice you? How do I know that you're the right person? So that means that it's really crucial that you know where you are unique, what your strengths are, and why your strengths are so much more of interest to this company. So really matching your strengths with what the company is looking for. And that is something which is crucial. So what we've been doing with our upskilling program is to help people to understand what their strengths are. To understand where they're good at and where their experience is, because that is where people are looking for. That's the kind of thing what they ask. So, and that's the only way where you get noticed, because otherwise the 10,000 people like you. So you will not get selected.
And then, well, there's also a step where you share your strengths, your portfolio, your project, your skill set, whatever, your mindset publicly too. You can do that too. Not easily. It's still some work to do, some efforts, but that's how you can get noticed too and start the conversation with some recruiters or some possible colleagues or partners. And that's also the opportunity through those web tools. But for that, well, there is a lot of conversation and practices that are emerging.
Well, but in the end, what I think is really, if you really reflect on those crazy numbers, it's like I think it's really crucial that you do your networking, because that's the way to get in, that people know you and introduce you. Because how are you going to get noticed if people receive on average more than 20 CVs each day? So
yeah.
But you get noticed if your neighbor is working somewhere and introduces you and say, hey, Rotan is a good guy, you should seriously look at that.
Well, this effect is also can be applied on a global level, as we know, because if you work remotely or in global teams, you can be introduced to other people in the other countries or the projects globally.
Well, I would not even want to guess what the number is for Google.
Yeah, that's it. And the other reality is that more and more the talent or HR, tech or industries are disrupted because of analytics. Behind that, of course, big data and AI soon, because I'm not sure, but I'm seeing, and that's what some talent specialists are saying, there is more and more those use of those tools, or those technologies, because well, as you say, they need to save time, they need to be more efficient. So how they can scan and see what are the patterns or what are the filters is through big data analytics and social and I guess soon AI, artificial intelligence, because well, they cannot just put 2 juniors or 2 or 3 people or just a small team for doing just those things. They have to do something else, like doing those interviews or helping people to do business cases or I don't know, something else, that where there is more value for the companies, and to make sure of that.
That is where these guys are working on. So that is why I would urge our young people and say, hey, you really have to make sure that you're very, very well clear about how do you stand out from the crowd. What is your differentiator? How are you really a special guy, and why it is a good fit with this organization? Because if you don't know that and you're just average, you can forget about it. You will not get any invitation. So, and at the same time, like I said, I still believe in networking but networking means, and which we have noticed that for young people, they find it kind of frightening. You have to speak with strangers. Yeah. Well, why can I now have an interesting story about this psychology and assessment? Because I had the lunch and I was talking to a stranger. I'd never seen the guy before. But we had that conversation. Yeah, I was not even back from the conversation. I was sitting at my desk, and he sent me a LinkedIn request, and I could do this assessment, so I could have a feeling what it is. So, that is networking. Yeah, but that is a skill which is crucial. It's not a nice to have. It's a must-have skill.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's how we end up co-creating or even just learning and sharing that, for instance, in our show. Simple as that. But we are using this knowledge, these connections for that. It's not just a nice to have, as you say. So that was just it for this episode. Stay tuned for another one, and have a great summer, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.